The first meeting is really a get-to-know-you meeting. We're going to sit down. Typically, the meeting will last about an hour. We're having a conversation. My job is to ask them some questions about where they are, what some of their goals are, what some of the key objectives they have in meeting with me, where they are to this point, and really what brought them in to see me. And now I'm at the point in my career where I have a lot of people that are dependent upon me to provide them with all the guidance and all the advice that we do on a day-to-day basis.
You spend your working years trying to build up your assets, trying to build up pension credits at your job, trying to grow your nest egg so that you can one day retire when you can't work or don't want to work anymore. And that's a period followed by phase two, which is retirement. And your priorities in these two phases are very different, but many times we see people don't make that shift and they still act like they're in phase one when they really should be acting like they're in phase two.
We're going to talk to you about what we commonly refer to as the second half of the game. And what I mean by that is you're working your entire life towards retirement, and I'm assuming that most of you are, at that age where you're starting to consider some of your options as you move into retirement. And as you do that, you're moving from what we call the accumulation phase of your life, where you're accumulating your assets. Maybe you're participating in your company's 401k, maybe you're contributing to an IRA account or a Roth IRA account or some type of retirement vehicle. And now, as you retire, you're transitioning into the distribution phase, or the part where you're going to need income in retirement. So we're going to talk about some different ways to do that with an emphasis on Social Security.
Welcome to Financially Speaking with Jeff Bush. I'll be the host today. My name is Steve Jablonski, and we have a really great topic today, considering where the market's at an all-time high. We're going to be talking about risk, and more specifically, Riskalyze, which is what we use to help our clients really define their risk. And with that said, Jeff?
Well, hello, Steve, and welcome to the show. First, let me say it's great to be here today on PCTV. And for you, Steve, of course, this is your very first show, so welcome. We're grateful to have this presence not only here in the Pottstown area, but also via the World Wide Web on the PCTVnetwork.com, and of course our website, which is informedfamily.com. So a great big thank you to our friends here at PCTV. Today we're going to talk about Riskalyze, which is the program that we use with our clients to measure risk and to allocate their portfolio really according to a scoring system.
Yeah, one thing we found today is that when we're using Riskalyze, is that investing is broken. Why do you think that is, Jeff?
Well, investors naturally have a tendency to buy when things are good and sell when they get scared, and therefore missing the recovery. Buy back when the markets feel safe again and repeat until broke. As you can see up here on the screen that we have, there's this, the markets are cyclical. We like to say, this is not your father's stock market. The markets go up and the market goes down. So it really takes a lot of discipline to be investing in today's market.
Yep, and that's why we believe that the short term really does matter. And it really stems from our definition of risk tolerance. It's how far a portfolio can fall within a specific time period before an investor will really start making some poor decisions, where they will start making knee-jerk reactions, and at this point they really don't think about their long-term goals and how a short-term decision can actually affect those long-term goals.
Yeah, I mean, it's the discipline that we like to employ at our firm is, to look as long-term as you possibly can. Okay, if you have a short-term goal, then we really should be steering clear of the stock market. And all of our research points to a simple truth. While investors should be focused on the long term, they react to risk in the short term and sometimes overreact to risk in the short term. And these emotional reactions, Steve, are to risk are the #1 killers of long-term financial goals and results. And all you need to do is point back to 2008 as a perfect example of that.
Yeah, and a lot of it stems with all the information that's out there today. And a lot of advisors will give their clients big books of information. I mean, we had an instance the other day where one of our clients said, please don't give us a huge, thick report because a lot of it has nothing to do with me and a lot of it I don't understand. So one of the great things about Riskalyze is that it's very specific to the client. And the clients get it. It's very easy to understand.
Yeah. Well, Steve, of course, you've been working with our Riskalyze software for quite some time now, so you kind of know all the ins and outs. And you know, it really is a simple system. It's simple yet effective.
Yep.
The old way of assessing risk, stereotyping investors with subjective semantics based on their age, simply doesn't work. So in other words, you know, if you find a 25-year-old, you say, okay, well, you know, we've got to put him in an aggressive position because he's got a long time horizon. When in fact that may not be the case.
Right.
You know, if you give him the scoring system, he may in fact score out at a different level. And yeah, you're right. Investors are confused, and the client that you're referring to, he got that big report from another firm, and it really doesn't do anything. I mean, it's just a lot. You know, these big reports just, you know, spew out a lot of statistical information. But what really makes Riskalyze effective it's you. It's your score. It tells us where you are. And you know, getting back to this, you know, these stereotypes. You know, the folks at Riskalyze actually did a study, and they found this is interesting. 52% of investors between the age of 20 to 29 are not aggressive. So about half of 20 to 29-year-olds aren't aggressive. And conversely, 53% of investors between the ages of 70 and 79 aren't conservative. So advisors really need to be empowered to treat their clients as individuals.
Yeah, and a lot of times, Jeff, when, you know, historically speaking, and people focus in on a return, and let's say the S&P 500 returned 9% over the last 20 years, it only has returned 9% once. So what happens in the short term is clients will say, wait a minute, we're talking about an average of 8 or 9%, but I only had 2%. And so it should be really focused in on someone's risk first and then return second.
Yeah. So simply stated, the way we invest for our clients is putting risk first. And it's really about, you know, what you're really saying is it's about asset allocation.
Yeah.
When you can do this and quantify risk alignment, that's when you can empower fearless investing.
Yeah.
Let's talk a minute about fearless investing, because really what that means is you can take what's happening in the short term because you really have a much broader goal and a much broader outcome. Because the reality of it is that you're going to have extreme volatility in the short term, be it good or bad. And as you stated at the top of the show, you know, the market's at or near all-time highs. So what does that mean? Well, it's volatility right now. You know, we're on the positive side of that, but it's not always going to be that way, as we all know. Yep. But there's a lot of emotion here, and you know, we're trying to take the emotion and the fear out of investing.
Yep. And so what we do is it really starts with the risk number, and a lot of times what advisors will do is they'll put somebody, as you said, into a conservative or moderately aggressive, shell, and that really doesn't have anything to do with how far their portfolio could fluctuate. And so we come up with a risk number first, and when we compare this, or a good example is 1, it goes from 1 to 99, and 1 would be sitting in cash. 99 would be in one holding like Twitter stock. The other thing is we think of this as a speed limit. So if you're driving 25 miles an hour versus driving 85 miles an hour, the 85 is going to have a lot more risk, a lot more capability or probability of a crash, where the 25 mile an hour is actually very, very slow and safe. So it all gets down to the number and then the range that it can go invariant.
Yeah, so, really, that's good information to have. And what we're going to do today is we're going to make an offer to our viewers, and that is we're actually going to offer to do a risk-alize report for anyone who's interested. So we'll actually do 2 things. We're going to give you your score of how you should actually be, how your portfolio should actually be allocated. What's your number? Yep. And then the other thing we're going to do is we're going to look at your existing portfolio and see where you are right now. Yep. So we're going to take your 401k report or your IRA account or any other investment account, and we're going to plug those numbers into our software, and we're going to give you a number. Now, in a perfect world, Steve, those numbers should match, right?
Right.
So, but what we have found is that they rarely do.
Right.
They rarely do. And the other thing that this report does is it gives you like ranges of what you're comfortable with. So you can, in other words, yeah, the market's at an all-time high, but what's going to happen if we get a correction, which we will eventually. We'll get a correction. So what will investors be able to tolerate? Will they be able to tolerate a 10% correction, a 25% correction, a 50% correction? Right. There's a lot. What I found was when going back to 2008, we had a lot of people say they were aggressive, say they wanted to be in the market, but once the market started going down, they bailed. They wanted to bail. And really, they bailed at the wrong time.
Yep.
They bailed at the wrong time. And, one of the slides that we showed earlier, we're way back in the beginning, the roller coaster one. So where their greed and they're buying high at the market, and they're selling low at the low market. So right now we're at the high market. So we're not saying here today that we should not be buying today. But all we're saying is it needs to be part of a systematic plan. We have to be investing in the right fashion for what's right. So that's the free. So the free offer is we're going to do a risk-alize score for you. So what you can contact us a couple different ways. You can either contact us through email at our info@informedfamily.com, or you can give us a call. Our phone number's up there on the screen. So contact us, and we'll be sure to get that risk-alize report out to you.
And another thing is that we have some upcoming seminars coming up. And if you see, we'll get them on the screen. We have a couple in January.
Yeah, so we do these. So we take the show on the road. So today we're here in the studio talking about risk-alize, but we're going to be on the road. You can see here up on the screen that we're going to be. We have a couple of upcoming events. Give us a call or email us, and we'll get you some tickets if you want to come out and see us. Now, what we do at these public seminars is we focus on the topics that are important to consumers. So this is just one topic that's important to consumers. So we talk about risk, We talk about Social Security is another hot topic. We've been doing a lot of Social Security workshops over the past several years. And then another big topic right now, Steve, is fiduciary.
Okay. Yes.
So I know it's somewhat of a big word. And what does fiduciary mean? Well, it means that we, you and me, as financial advisors, have the responsibility to always act in the best interest of our clients. So we have a fiduciary role. So why is that?
And how does that compare to suitability?
Well, there's two different things. So suitability means that you're making an investment recommendation to a client that's the investment is a suitable it's a suitable investment. It'll meet their needs.
Yep.
A fiduciary role or fiduciary capacity means that you're acting in the best interest of your client.
Okay.
So you're doing what's truly the best interest of your client. So it's a different level than what suitability is, and that's really important to consumers. And as we progress through time, you're going to hear more about that. But the best example I can give for fiduciary is if you're named the executor of an estate. So let's say that your dear old aunt names Steve as the executor of her estate, and your dear old aunt dies, and the beneficiaries of her estate, let's say that they're your three cousins, let's say, her kids. So what your job is as the executor, you're acting in a fiduciary capacity. So you have to act in the best interests of the beneficiaries. So you might have to sell the house. You might have to position the investment portfolio in a way. You might have to sell some stock to create liquidity in the estate. Well, how are you going to do that? So you have to act in a fiduciary role. So it's not just, you're not acting in a selfish role. You're acting in a fiduciary capacity to act in the best interest of the beneficiaries. So that's really what fiduciary is. So let's talk a little bit about who we are here at Informed Family. So we've been around the block a time or two. Steve, it's great to have you here in our firm. You have over 20 years of experience in the financial services industry. I have over 20 years of experience in the financial industry. Our good friend Barry, our other advisor, he's got over 20 years. So between the three of us, we're pushing 65, 70 years of combined experience. So what does that mean? Some of that, well, it means we've taken our lumps over the years. We've been able to see a lot. We've worked with a lot of clients, good and bad. And it really, we're kind of, warriors, so to speak. So we love to work with people. We have a lot of clients right here in the Pottstown area, as well as other parts of, the greater Philadelphia area, and we really love what we do.
And let me ask you, Jeff, when we talk about planning first, what does that mean to the firm?
Well, our motto is planning first and then investing second. So financial planning means that what we want to do is we want to get to know our clients. We want to know what their goals and objectives are. We want to know what the future has in store for them, how they see the future unfolding. Once we can define that, and sometimes that takes a couple meetings to do, depending on the complexity of their situation. But once we can do true financial planning, then the investing kind of follows suit. What I've found over the years is when we skip that step, either by design or the client's coming in for one specific thing, or maybe we don't follow our model. That's when things go off track. That's when It's kind of like swimming. You're swimming upstream or climbing uphill or whatever term you want to use. But that's really where the importance of financial planning comes in.
Yep.
And really, as it relates to our topic today, Riskalyze, with Riskalyze and asset allocation, these are all effective tools that we use as financial planners, as financial advisors. And when you have a plan in place, well, then you can go out and invest. Then you can set up someone's portfolio in such a way that it's going to meet all their goals and objectives. What I've found is, through my experience, is that people generally underestimate how long they're going to live and how long they're going to live in retirement.
Sure.
So if you're talking to somebody who's 60, 65 years old, there's probably another 25 years of life there that we've got to plan for, maybe more. People are living longer. People are, we're planning, when we do our planning, we assume people are going to live into their 90s now.
And that's one reason why asset designation is very important.
Yeah, we strongly believe in that. That's maybe that's a topic for another day. Asset designation, and that goes along with our asset cycle portfolio system. But all really what that means, Steve, and that was good that you interjected that into the conversation this morning, because what that really means is that when you're doing asset designation, you're giving everything that you own, you're giving a job description to. So it's not everything sitting in one pot. You're saying, okay, this asset that I have is truly a long-term asset. Or this asset I need for income now. And what we have found is, once we can get our clients to see that, once they can see that, oh yeah, we've got that asset, that's for 15 years down the road, or that's money that we're probably never going to spend. That's money that's going to go to the children, or what sometimes we refer that to leave on money. So there's live on money, and then there's leave on money. So the leave on money, sometimes, we can take some more risk with that, and then people say, oh yeah, that's money we're never going to spend. Yeah, that's, we can take equity risk there. So that's probably a topic for another day, but we'll get into that a little bit more. For those people that are tuning into us on a regular basis, we'll spend some time talking about the asset designation, or the asset cycle portfolio, if you will. So, with all this being said, we want to talk a little bit about our locations too. So we have an office right here in Pottstown, at 152 East High Street. So for our local viewers, we're right downtown in the old Security Trust building, that building right on the corner of High and Hanover. It's got the big brick building. We're up on the 4th floor of that. We've been there for 11 years now, believe it or not. So we have a nice presence in Pottstown, and we really enjoy it. Of course, I live in Pottstown, so it's that office is convenient for that. And then, of course, our main office is down in the West Norristown area, right outside of Norristown. So, we've got clients all the way down Route 422 and all over Montgomery County, and spreading into Chester County and even into Philadelphia County. So, when you've been at it as long as we have, we've been able to, meet a lot of nice people along the way. If you need to contact us, we have our information up on the screen. You can see there. You can email me at info@informedfamily.com. Remember, we're offering the Riskalyze report today. So if you want to email me for that, we'll get that out to you. Or if you want to talk about any other topic, if you want tickets to an upcoming event. In fact, what I want to do right now is I want to put the, up on the screen, I want to put the upcoming seminars that we have, our workshops. You can see there that we're taking the show on the road, which we typically do every month. We'll do 1 or 2 workshops in the area.
And these are Social Security.
Yeah, these are with an emphasis on Social Security, but we touch on other things, like we'll touch on income planning. We'll talk about we'll talk about the Riskalyze, the risk software that was the topic of today's show. You know, we'll touch on our roles as fiduciaries, the asset designation. We really kind of mix everything in there together, because really, you know, you never want to make your Social Security decision in a vacuum.
Yep.
Because there's so many other factors that go along with it.
Yep.
It's kind of like baking a cake, Steve. You know, you're putting a lot of ingredients into it, and you know, when you're looking at Social Security, you're really looking at a lot of other aspects to your financial world, in addition to Social Security. So with that being said, it was a great show today. Steve, welcome again to the world of Informed Family here and Financially Speaking with Jeff Bush. So with that being said, we're gonna sign off today, and we'll see you the next time here on Financially Speaking with Jeff Bush.